I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. For today's show, we're talking with local authors of children's books, and for this segment, I'm now joined by part of the creative team, I should say, of Kitchen Club Kids. I'd like to say the authors, but there's a whole team of you, right?
There is.
So I've got to ask this question. I mean, how do four people who are professionals in marketing and advertising come together to put together a children's book about cooking and sort of recipe adventure book? How does this come about?
It really just friendships are forged over the years of working together, and you know what everybody is capable of. And then, you know, as life happens, everybody started having kids at the exact same time, and we were talking about how you balance work and family and how you get them involved and get them to try new things. And we all just kind of all these interests aligned, and here we are.
So what's unique about this, I really like the branding of this, and of course the branding on this is very well done, is recipe adventure story. So Eluka, explain, what is a recipe adventure story, or that genre? I think this is the first time I've actually heard this.
Sure. So, I mean, the Kitchen Club Kids series, we do call the Recipe Adventure series because it uses cooking as a way to teach young children about basic counting, colors, food recognition, working on their problem solving, their critical thinking skills, while also promoting healthy eating habits at such a young age, as early as 2 years old. So each of the stories that we have in the collection is a recipe that's told in a traditional storybook format. And at the very end of each of the books, you have a real recipe that can be prepared by parent, child together, and really celebrate that, spending that quality time together just in the kitchen.
So are you guys big foodies as friends and authors? I mean, are you guys big foodies, obviously? Because the choice could be, hey, we could tell a story about, you know, we talked about that in the first half with Dan, you know, just the dilemmas of being a parent, or the funny things that happen about being a parent.
Sure.
But to talk about food and to focus on healthy eating really says something.
Sure.
You're definitely more of a foodie than I am.
You know, cooking has been a huge part of my life from when I was 6 years old on up, and now that I'm a parent, it's being able to share that love and that passion with my own son. And so for me, that's kind of where all of this cooking really comes from, and how excited I am to be able to share that with other parents. And the importance of building a foundation and really making my son aware of the things he's eating from day one, so that when he becomes older and making his own choices, that it's just becomes second nature rather than a chore.
Right, right. Well, let's talk about the first one is End of the Rainbow Fruit Salad. Is that right? And we've got a photo of the cover of that. So tell me about this one. This is making a fruit salad. Obviously, a lot of colors, but explain to me, what do families read when they open the book?
So basically, it's exploring numbers and colors, counting from 1 to 10. And then along the way, we introduce a lot of what you would expect to be very common fruits that all kids would know. But then we want to throw a couple things in there that introduce them to new things, like a papaya and pineapple and, you know, possibly blueberries, raspberries, things like that, just so that they are aware of everything that's out there. And when you put it on their plate, they're not just throwing it off onto the floor.
Yeah, no, sounds like a good tool. We have a good tool to introduce them to numbers and to fruits and vegetables. I think we've got cherries and blueberries in this. You know, I'm curious too, when you guys are putting this together, there's 4 of you, is that right, for your team?
Yes.
How difficult, or maybe easy, I mean, how do you split up the work for something? I mean, how does it all come together?
Sure, it's a very collaborative effort. I mean, again, as Larry mentioned, we all sort of have had a previous life together in professionally, and so we just kind of know how each other work, and so, you know, everyone brings something unique to the table, and it really truly is a lot of fun. I mean, for me personally, it's great to be able to work on something that I'm so passionate about, but with such talented people that I get to do on a regular basis. So it's just special.
And sounds like a lot of fun. Now, the second one is the garden safari vegetable soup.
Yeah.
So was it, when you came up with this one, was it already did you already have mapped out, okay, number 1's going to be this, number 2, is that?
We kind of had a blueprint of sort of what we wanted to do, and we knew it was just sort of which one do we want to lead with, and so we chose the fruits first. Just, you know, was something that all kids love usually is the fruits, and
not the vegetables.
Not the vegetables, and so we knew that vegetables would be the next one. And then following would be our third book, which would be all about using your 5 senses to make bread, a basic bread recipe. So with Garden Safari, this time, very similar to the first book, you know, they're going on a counting of safari to find assortment of fresh vegetables. And again, it's introducing things that are commented on, the carrots, the celery, tomatoes, but throwing in something unique. In this instance, it's blue potatoes. So who doesn't like blue food? But in this case, it's healthy for you. So
I'm going to honestly say I don't know if I've actually heard of blue potatoes before.
Yeah.
So
Most parents haven't even seen a blue potato before.
Yeah. And so that's thrown in for the vegetable soup?
It is, and it's actually blue potatoes have a very high nutritional value compared to just your regular potatoes, and that's something we also discovered as we were playing with the recipe and what is going to make it really unique. Because there's so many great vegetable recipes out there, but this puts our stamp on it.
So the recipe that's at the end of each book, it's literally reflects what the story's been about,
Yes.
and you can make it. You can actually make that recipe altogether.
Normally in 10 easy steps.
Yep.
That's kind of the goal. So we take you on a recipe that's easy to prepare, and cooks of any caliber can really get in there and enjoy, because you have to simplify it for kids age 2 to 5. Make sure that they can get active and get involved while they're there in the kitchen.
So speaking of, we were talking about with Dan, just sort of funny stories that happen with your kids. Both of you have children in the kitchen. You've done these, right? You've probably done them numerous times. Have there been some, has it gone smoothly?
Oh gosh, well, we could say sure,
Right,
but
very smooth.
There's for me, with my son, he's a typical picky toddler, and just vegetables was just such a problem for us to get him to eat. But then when we introduced this, it was sort of like, oh my gosh, we hit the jackpot, because he loves the colorful illustrations and all that, and so he is kind of it's resonating with him. But at first he wants to kind of have nothing to do with any vegetables, and anytime we're like, let's go do something in the kitchen and try to make a soup or anything with vegetable, he was like not having it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's been, it's good. We were talking about off camera, just, those instances when you're in the kitchen and you're like, don't touch that, or, don't with the knife. But this is really a great introduction for that. Have you heard that a lot from people who've read the book or bought the book? Is that kind of what they're saying?
Absolutely. And the most important thing is knowing what's age appropriate. So you're not going to hand your kid a butcher knife and say, why don't you chop this up for me, dice up these onions so we can throw them into the stew. That's not how it works. But you just start really simple. Give them things like let them pull the tops off the carrots, or de-stem the grapes. Different little chores. And of course, all kids, no matter what age they are fantastic at taste testing.
Yeah.
That is one of their favorites. So I put my little guy on the counter, and he's like right in the mix the entire time. And I swear half the stuff is going in his mouth.
Right. No, but this is a great way. That's a great example to say, maybe, just separate this or do something. You're not handing them, the shredder or,
right. Stirring is another really easy task, of course, away from the stove. But, if you're baking or whatever it is, or making the fruit salad, stirring is a very easy task that kids can do.
So I know that the third book hasn't come out yet, but
right.
You briefly mentioned it. Tell me a bit more about it with bread, because that's quite interesting, and kneading bread and
Sure.
putting together something that's very hands-on for kids. But explain to me, if you can,
Yeah.
how much you can reveal about
Yeah.
it.
Making bread is definitely a sensory experience, and there's so many things, because a lot of bread making is waiting as well. But you get them in there, they can touch it, and they can feel it. And the hardest part with the whole, making sure we cover the 5 senses was, how do you hear bread making? So that'll be the big secret reveal when we actually get into the book. But of course, the smells. Everybody has those memories from when they were young, and maybe Grandpa was in there making his homemade bread, and it brings you back to a time when everybody ate fresh from home. And that's really one of the things that we're trying to drive home for people is, you can cook at home, you can make things with your family, and it's ultimately going to be so much healthier for them in the long run.
What do you see as sort of the long-term, not so much goal, but just projection, really, of Kitchen Club, like the whole series? Is it going to be going into something outside of cooking? Have you guys thought about that? It's a really clever idea because it serves a purpose, but what do you see happening?
Well, of course, we want to, first and foremost, continue to grow the series, in terms of the books. But we've talked about merchandising. We've talked about apps. We've talked about, a planner for mom and including a little shopping list for her, things of that nature. So it's all, again, tying back to cooking, but getting outside of the traditional books that we've already established.
Yeah, no, that's an app that would be great. I noticed when I was when I was on your website, a lot of the responses, obviously from nutritionists to teachers, everything's been really positive. Tell me about how people have responded to this, from parents to educators, nutritionists. What are they saying?
Sure. A lot of the moms are just so excited to be able to have a tool that not only teaches their children all the basics things that they would need from building your vocabulary to reading to counting, etc. But the fact that they're promoting the healthy eating habits, and especially at such a young age, a lot of these parents are getting on the bandwagon about, it's so important to set that foundation for life for their children and making them aware of what they're putting in their mouths. So, we're very grateful to have the opportunity to share this with so many parents and nutritionists and really get some really great, honest feedback on what we're doing.
Yeah, because I think about right now like the sort of the landscape of literature, and there's stuff that includes food, but not so much. It's really an interesting concept, and it's a combination of a cookbook and a story itself, and it brings it all together. Sure. Where can people go? We want to know for more information. Where can they get your book?
Sure.
Visit us online, kitchenclubkids.com.
Okay, and go onto the site, and on the site too, you have some other information really about healthy eating and. Can you just elaborate on that? Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, we have all kinds of, fun activities that, from different schools that have used our book as teaching tools and talk about the different circle times and what have you. We also like to talk about, great recipes, other great recipes out there that you can certainly try with your kids. If you follow us on Facebook, you'll be able to see all kinds of fun treats that we like to put there and fun facts about healthy fruits and vegetables.
I have to, before we wrap things up, which one so far of the two is your son? Which is his favorite?
Garden Safari.
Oh, yeah?
Because he's on the cover.
Because he's on the cover.
And Larry, what about you?
Ironically, it's going to be End of the Rainbow Fruit Salad, also because he is on the cover.
Has nothing to do about
the story.
Kids are so into themselves these days.
Yes,
it's
they
unbelievable.
Are. That's because we have authors putting their family, naming books after them and putting them on the cover. Yeah. No, I love the concept. I love the idea, the illustrations and everything. It's so colorful and vibrant, and I really appreciate you guys being here to share information about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
Right, thank you, and best of luck with the next book.
Thanks so much.
All right. Well, thank you at home for joining us. It's been a fun show, and if you want to rewatch this, you can always check us out on our YouTube page. And for more information about City Corner and other things we have going on, visit us at stltv.net. Thanks again for joining us.